Salutations and shit, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Travel and Shit, where I, your host, D. Carey, have an experiential conversation about the nuanced ways that travel intersects with regular life. So, buckle up. I am going to be taking a break, more like a little pause. So, I will be home recovering from fibroid surgery for the month of August, and I really wanted to give myself an opportunity to just rest. Um, so, over the course of the next 8 episodes, I'm going to be reintroducing you guys to some of my favorite episodes and your favorite episodes. I'll be back on 10/10, October 10th, with episode 300 air horns, episode 300. New episode, fresh, and in celebration of 6 years of travel and shit. So while the episodes aren't newly recorded, they may be new to you. Remember, it's like almost 6 years of content that I'm pulling from, guys. So I encourage you to not forget that a lot of times when you listen to the album again, a lot of times songs sound better the second play around. So I encourage you to listen to the replays again from the place in life that you are now and see what stands out. I've got some full travel coming up. I've already got some guests booked, and I really want to spend some time working on the things that happen in the background. And I really want to pour into some ideas that I have been putting off developing. So if you'd like to follow along, and if you want to see how the projects go along the way, feel free to join the mailing list, travelandshitpodcast.com/subscribe, or follow along on social media. The accounts are all going to be Travel and Shit. It's Travel and Shit without an I, but an underscore instead. So it's TRAVEL, the letter NSH_T. In the meantime, in between time, I hope you guys enjoy what we have built over the almost last 6 years. And shoot me an email and let me know what you think I need to know. Otherwise, enjoy this week's replay. Bye.
I made it around the world and came back with stories to tell. Different places to call home. Now I'm never on my own. Salutations to my people hitting foreign nations. Food, traveling shit, moving to live. Life in the sky, stories to give. The ones who make it there and can make it back.
Salutations and shit, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Travel and Shit, your favorite travel podcast, where I, your host, D. Carey, have an experiential conversation about the nuanced ways that travel intersects with regular life. So, y'all, it is hot. I don't know if it's hot where y'all niggas is at, but it's hot. But you know what? I'm even gonna complain, because I complain about the winter. I don't move weather. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy shoveling out my car. Shout out to the men in my life, because I have thankfully, by the grace of God, been able to avoid the majority of that labor. But I don't know what it is about me. I don't know if y'all agree. I will traipse my little ass through somebody's 102 degrees, but as soon as it hits like 90 where I'm at, I hate it. It's so hot. And it's just a different feeling. I don't know. Something about the feeling of heat in your own city, in your own house, is not the same as vacation heat. But alas, hopefully the world doesn't crumble and burn while we're still here. So save the rest of the announcements for the end of the show, because I got a guest. And not just any guest, but a beautiful guest, and a guest that I'm certain many of you have heard of. So my beautiful guest, if you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself to the peoples.
So, thank you guys so much for having me. It's an honor to be here on the podcast. So, Dee, shout out to you. Thank you so much. I am Keem, also known in these internet streets as the passport abuser. I am a female solo traveler of 58 countries. I've been to 65, but only 58 of them have been solo. I have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, USA Today, Newsweek, Essence Magazine, The Washington Post, and I teach an online course called Travel Like a Boss, which is a 9-week course that teaches men and women how to ace their first solo trip and how to master solo travel. So you guys can find me on Instagram at The Passport Abuser.
Hold up. So 60 something plus countries.
But only 58 of them was by myself on my own.
60 plus countries. To hell with by yourself with somebody. Girl, that is such a grand undertaking. Like, how long have you been traveling? Did you grow up traveling? Like, that's a lot.
Yeah, you know what? No, I didn't grow up traveling. I grew up like very poor. Like we got like 2 pair of shoes a year. So I didn't grow up with money or anything like that. It's just that my friends started to want to travel. It started out as Miami, then went over to Jamaica, like the usual kind of way that we evolve into traveling. We start small, we go further and further until we expand our travel palette. And I just looked up and here we are, 58 countries by myself solo.
So what do you feel? What was your first country? Let me ask that first.
My first country out of the country was Jamaica. My first country by myself was France. I went to Paris for my first solo trip.
Okay. So how did you get into traveling internationally? Because I don't necessarily I've never been anywhere international. Partial I went with my homegirl, Chris. Hey, boo. We went to Alberta together, but I hadn't had like your traditional girls trip, French trip. The first time I left the country like was by myself. So what was like your first experience traveling like? Because I feel like that first trip can kind of either pause you, because I won't necessarily say like stop you, right? Because while somebody may have like a experience or an experience that doesn't necessarily fulfill what they may have expected, you might pause and take a while to get back to it or shift the way you travel. But like for your first time out, Jamaica, did you do a cruise? Did you do like study abroad? And how old were you?
I was 27 at the time, and it was my girlfriend Simone's birthday. And she said, "Yo, I'm trying to go to Jamaica for my birthday." And I said, "Well, I've never even gone out the country before." So I applied for my passport just so I can go and celebrate her birthday with her. And we had so much fun that I said, "Damn, I want to come back to Jamaica all the time." So I ended up going back to Jamaica like 3 times before I was like, "You want to try another country and see if you like it?" Because we knew we loved Jamaica. It was guaranteed fun. And okay, yeah, let's try another country. And we picked Dominican Republic and we liked that. And so then we pretty much just decided that we liked traveling together and stuff. We wanted to keep going.
And it's funny you say that's what it's funny you say you apply for your trip, because that is the first time in a very long time I actually remember. I don't even think I mentioned this on the podcast before. The reason why I even applied for my passport was because some nigga told me he was going to take me someplace. I don't even remember where it was, but he was like, yeah. You got your passport? Come on. Like, I'll take you. Don't even worry about it. I got you. So I went and got my little passport.
Right. So you could be
ready to get and flew out. And of course that never happened. But kudos to the friends that actually pulled up to the friend trip. How did that go? What was your experience traveling with friends? Did you enjoy it? And what made you transition from, and do you still do group trips? Like, is that something that you have held on to?
So to answer like the first part of the question, I definitely liked the experience of traveling with my girlfriends. So that girls trip scenario was always a good idea for me. So I liked doing it, but I ended up going on my birthday trip with two different friends, not Simone, because we everything wasn't Simone. But I ended up going on a trip with two of my girlfriends. One of my girlfriends, I told her that, I feel like her boyfriend was using her, and that, I just wanted to let her know that, even if
Mhm.
she chooses to proceed with the dude, at least she could have it in the back of her mind somewhere that he may be, using her. And so I told her that over dinner in Amsterdam. And it was the night before my birthday. And the next morning I woke up and she left me stranded in the hotel, didn't leave me a letter, didn't tell me anything. When I initially woke up, they um I thought that my two friends were maybe downstairs having breakfast and that I
Mhm.
just slept in late. And after I got out the shower and got dressed, I realized like they still wasn't back upstairs from dinner. And I was like, wait, where's their makeup and stuff? Like then it just kind of hit me. And so they didn't even leave me a letter in on the coffee table, like we're gone, like, whatever.
Mhm.
I just had to pretty much figure it out. And so I called them and I said, hey, like, where are y'all? And they was like, oh yeah, I don't like what you said at dinner. And by the way, I told so-and-so that you said something about her daughter. And I was like, wow. So I told you something about your boyfriend that you don't like. And now you're gonna lie to our other friend and tell her I was talking about her kids. Like basically tried to
Hmm.
the other girl leave me. You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Messy.
the second girl involved, I said to her, I said, we were in Paris for 3 days and then we got to Amsterdam. So we've already been together for about a week now. And she's never told you that I said anything about your kids. And now when I tell her something about her man,
Mhm.
suddenly after she's been with you for 7 days, I've said something about her kids. I was
Right.
like, well, I just feel like if you were down to leave me without even having a conversation, like, oh,
Yeah.
she wants to leave, but let's clarify. What you say about my kids? Like, let's just
Okay.
like, well, let's huddle together real quick before we
Mhm.
part ways. What did you say about my children? Like, you were willing to leave me in a situation where you didn't know if I was going to be robbed, raped. You're leaving me by myself in
Right.
another country. You
The
left
day before your birthday.
the day before my birthday off of what someone said without ever having a conversation with me about it. I said, so we will all never be friends again because nothing
Mhm.
happened to the point where y'all are leaving me for dead on foreign soil.
Yeah.
So that was how I transitioned into solo travel to answer the second question, because it was just like my friends that didn't have kids, I wasn't friends with them no more. And I was like really depressed because now I've went from not only having the worst breakup of my life and calling off my wedding like, 13 days before, but
Oh my
also,
God.
yeah, but also 4 months later, I've lost two friends in the same day and I didn't do
Mhm.
anything. So it was a really, really hard
Yeah.
time in my life. And because of that, I didn't really trust women. I didn't want to be around women. So
Mhm.
when you ask, like, hey, how did you transition into solo travel? I got my heart broken by women. And I was just like, you know what? Um, I don't want to meet any other friends and make friends because what if I say something to the girl that she don't like, and then next thing you know, it's a fight? Or if
Yeah.
what if I tell you my honest opinion about something respectfully and you just leave me in another country? Like, so then I was afraid to trust people. So
Yeah.
it was safer mentally, emotionally for me. It was safer to be solo because it was less vulnerability. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to let anybody be able to, you know, pump fly on me real fast over
Yeah.
dumb, over a man,
A
so
no good one at that. Like.
I was just like, okay, let me just do solo. And then for the third question, you said like, do I still do group trips and stuff like that? It took like many years,
Okay.
but now I'm open to like traveling with other women and starting to trust other women. Like, because I have lots of girlfriends, but as soon as they be like, yeah, like, do y'all all want to go out together? I'm immediately like, no, because I'm like, what
Mm.
if something go wrong and I get left, or what if something happens? Because you cannot trust these people now. Like, so I have this vulnerability where I don't want people that close to me
Yeah.
because I'm afraid of how they might treat me. So I've just literally allowed myself to start like planning group trips with other girls. Now, my company, Travel Like a Boss, we do group trips together within the community. So it's a
Okay.
group retreat between me and my clients who come to me to learn how to solo travel. So it's a bonding experience for
Oh,
us.
nice.
So I'm not afraid that they're going to leave because they're here to learn from me directly. So
Mhm.
it feels safer. So I'm just now starting to let my guard down and have healthy relationships with people and not think that they may hurt me.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry that that's how you came into travel. Like, I never wish like a
Solo travel.
traumatic,
Uh-huh.
well, yes, solo travel. I never wish to hear that from or for anyone. Like, I would never want that possibility for something as beautiful as travel to, you know, get sullied possibly like that by other people. Like, I know that I waited for so long to travel because similar to you, all of my friends had kids, everybody had, a partner, so it's just like, so I can kind of go when I want to go. You got to wait on, okay, you got to wait for, okay, so it was like, it was really looking like it wasn't going to be for me. But instead of letting other people's decisions and what other people had going on get in the way, we had that similar experience of, I'm gonna figure it out by myself. I'm gonna
Mhm.
do it. I'm gonna get out here. And I wonder now for you, what was the first country where you felt like, okay, no, I got this. Like, this is my new bag. We're here now. What was that like for you?
So that euphoric, amazing experience for me was Paris. Um,
Okay.
so, most people are so afraid of taking their first solo trip, but I had just gotten left on vacation on my birthday in a whole nother country by two girls. So for me, my perspective, my POV was like, I'm not scared of whatever could go wrong because I don't think anything worse can happen to me at this point. All I got
Mm-hmm.
is me. There's no other plan. This, you know what I mean? If I don't like this experience, I'm going to experiment with my first solo trip. If I don't like this experience, I'll never solo travel again. And I'll just
Mm-hmm.
wait till I make new friends with people who have more flexibility.
Okay.
Um, so I didn't intend to be a solo traveler. It was just more so like an experiment. And that place was Paris. And Paris had been on my bucket list for so long that I teach women all the time. If you want to take your first solo trip, choose a country that is always at the top of your bucket list. So that way, like that excitement for seeing Bora Bora or
Okay.
Paris, will kind of decrease or like kind of overshadow the anxiety of, oh my God, I'm being alone. I'm going to be by myself in Paris. So yeah, that country for me was Paris. Paris was country number one. Well, it's not a country. France was country number
Mm-hmm.
one. Solo.
And that was the first time you went solo, so it was like the shit kind of clicked real early for you.
It clicked right then and there, and I was like, the song say he snatched, he sold. Like I was sold, girl.
Okay. It was there. So from those experiences, which, and not even like because of what the country was, more so because of what the experience was for you, which trip would you possibly say comes, well, not even possibly say, what comes to mind first in terms of a trip that you learned the most from, that you're able to then impart information to other people? Like, where in that 58 solo, that where in there did some, like, do you think you learned the most?
I think that's a brilliant question. My answer is going to be a little bit more broad,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like every single country because I was having stimulation from all these different things that I've never experienced before: culture, sounds, food, people, languages, religion. So every different country, I learned something different about myself. I was able to make peace with a different part of myself.
Mm.
Maybe one part of myself healed, and it's like all the things that I didn't like, I was able to kind of shed them and leave them in Paris. And then the things that I liked about myself that I learned, I took them with me and I went to London from there. And then every different country that I went to, I was able to, make peace or let something go, leave it in London. And then from here, we are in Budapest or Prague today. And I'm learning something else about myself now that I'm by myself in country number 4. And then,
Mhm.
so I can't even say that there was one particular space where I would say that I learned the most, because I think that I had made peace with myself on the first solo trip that my evolution was going to take a lifetime. And that
Mm.
even when I took my last breath, I still probably wouldn't be who I thought I could be yet. But that's why I need more than one lifetime. So I would hate to kind of concentrate it and say that I learned a lot more, but I would say that in terms of just being able to go deeper and be a little bit more grounded, because that's what was making me feel good at the time. I was like my personal dopamine dealer,
Okay.
where travel was my dopamine, you know what I mean? But I think one of the most grounding experiences for me was probably going to Nelson Mandela's house and like looking at the bullet holes that
Mhm.
was still, in his house, and spending time in the Seychelles, and just looking over my shoulder before I left the beach saying like, yeah, I'll be back, and I don't know. I have so many different experiences that I was like, wow, I can take from this. Or the time we were in
Okay.
Sri Lanka and we took the train to Ella, and so I have different experiences.
You're so adorable. I love the excitement.
Okay.
Like it's glowing out of you, and I love that for you. My question then is, what does that process look like for you? So I know that for me, I believe in intentional travel. That's my bag. I believe in really, for me, that process, like the best way for me to, I think, ask this is like with the like example, right? So in my process of growth through travel, if you will, I like to be very intentional with making sure that I check in with where I am in that space, right? Like, what do I have going on back home? What is bothering me? What is working for me? What's not working for me? Like, I am very intentional about doing um an assessment and taking time instead, and not instead of, but in addition to getting wrapped up running around. Oh, this is cute, this is cute, let's go here, let's do that. What's cute about me? What do I have to do next? Like, I ask these questions. Like, I make sure to be present with myself as much as I am also engaging in new activities. And oh, I can't hike a rainforest in Queens, so I'm gonna do one here, or I can't taste this here, or I've never tried this before. So while I'm very also intentional about having new experiences, I make sure to be present for myself. So I will cancel some shit if it doesn't feel right that day. I
Right.
will change my mind. I
Right.
will leave intentional empty days. I will wait till the last minute to decide something because, well, I feel like this today, but I don't know what I'm gonna feel like tomorrow. So, what
Right.
does your process look like for you? And do you have a process? If you don't, what is it that you feel your general patterns look like in terms of being able to enjoy your trips?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I love that you touched on that, D, because I tell people all the time, I don't post on social media unless I'm actively traveling at the moment. Because for me, I care about what's in alignment and the path of the least resistance. So if
Mhm.
something doesn't feel right or it feels uncomfortable, then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to choose this path. So I'm actually very intentional about making sure that I'm actually not going like, oh, everybody's going to Greece because it's August, so we have to have the European content this summer. Every summer
Okay.
European content, everyone. So don't go to Africa this summer because you're not going to get the likes. So for me, it doesn't work like that. For
Mhm.
me, I'm like super intentional about how I want to feel. I have a map that is above my bed. So every morning when I wake up, I'm like, you know what, I'm feeling a lot like Africa. So yeah, for me, the way that I choose is just by seeing like what is in alignment with me, how do I feel? Also hotel partnerships too, because I might like email a couple hotels, and if one of them is like, all right, we're gonna give you 5 nights, then I'm like, okay, well, Africa it is, because
Right.
here this is who gave us the free hotels. So there's a few
Easy
different
decision.
things. Right, easy decision. So there's a few things, but the most thing is like, well, how do I feel? Am I feeling like I just want to lay low for a while? Because if so, then I know I'm going to Bali.
Hmm.
So it's cheap. I could be there for a long time and it's really chill, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, girl, that's how I figure out where I'm going next.
So when you are, are you still traveling solo, or do you like mix your trips in? Like, do you travel with friends, or are you still mostly doing your solo trips?
I'm 99% solo. Travel Like a Boss does have group trips within the community of the people who buy my
Mhm.
book. We do group trips every 3 months.
Okay. So in those solo trips, what are some of the tips that you feel you find people? So like everyone, I'm trying to work around and ask around like, well, what are your top tips for solo travelers, right? Because I feel like that soundbite is everywhere. What I want to know is, what are your non-traditional tips, right? Like, I know that there are certain things, everybody's personal experience is going to be different, and I think that the way we learned some of the things that we give other people as tips tend to stand out as why that tip is important, right? So if you have like a really big experience, like, yo, I ended up walking 3 hours to my hotel because I left my charger in the hotel. So I always encourage X, Y, and Z. So that is one of my primary tips. Do you have any tips that you give that come from like a space of, yeah, girl, I had to really learn this the hard way. So this is why I make sure to tell you that this is something you should try to do or avoid?
Yeah, absolutely. I have lots of them. I'll give you just three,
Okay.
right? Um, so let's see. The first one is people often when they book a hotel, they never ever ask the hotel, is the front desk 24 hours or do y'all
Oh,
close after a certain time?
okay.
You people, we just assume that they're going to be downstairs, even if we call them at 12 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so on my first solo trip to Paris, I took a ride along the CN River D, and it was like the last cruise on the CM River. And if you like research the Eiffel Tower, because I was researching everything on Google because I was scared because it was my first solo trip. So any dumb fact, I wanted to know it before I went by myself, right? And so, so girl, it said that at 1 o'clock in the morning, so the Eiffel Tower lights up and does a glitter show every hour on the hour until 1 o'clock in the morning. But on the
Oh,
last show, at 1 a.m., there's going to be a finale, and all the other shows all night it was 5 minutes. The one at 1 a.m. is 10 minutes. And so
okay.
I decided to take the boat cruise closer to 1 a.m. So on the dinner boat cruise, it was like dinner, food, a band, everything on
Oh, nice.
rose, honey. So, I'm just,
Oh, they was
enjoying
fancy.
myself, girl. And so,
Yeah.
like, I was having a good time. I got off and I waited at the foot of the Eiffel Tower at 1 o'clock in the morning for the show to start because it was like my big whimsical first solo trip and it was in a wonderful place like Paris. So
Right.
I was excited about every little dumb touristy thing.
Yep.
And
Still,
so
I still get excited about touristy shit, and I'm gonna absolutely go see the touristy shit because why the fuck not?
why? Because I'm here, right? So I waited for the show. The show started. It was beautiful, and from there I walked to the hotel because it really was close enough to walk.
Okay.
So I walked to the hotel, and when I got back to the hotel, I looked inside my YSL Cape bag, like
Hmm.
so it's not that many pockets on it. It's just one flap, a YSL
Okay.
flap. It's one flap. I open up the flap, and my bank card, all my stuff is in there. But the fob card to put up to the hotel door is not in the purse. And when I peer through the glass, I can see that the entire lobby is dark, but at the front desk, there's a little desk light on. I'm like, oh fuck. So at
Damn.
this point, it's about like 1:15 in the morning in Paris. And I called my mother. It's probably like 7 o'clock in the evening in New Jersey. So, because Paris is ahead. So I called my mom. It's not late for her. I said,
Okay.
hey, I can't seem to find my fob key to get back into the hotel, and it looks like they're closed. I'm looking through the window, nobody's there. And she said, well, let me Google the hotel. So she Googled the hotel, and it said on Google that their hours were like 10 or something. So I guess that since it was a boutique hotel,
Oh,
they're not
yeah.
there all the time, you know? Um, so I said, oh, what should I do? Because all my stuff is upstairs, like, you know.
Yeah.
Well, my mom said, well, let's go on Expedia and let's look up another hotel for you that's within walking distance. I'll
Okay.
stay on the phone with you, and you have your bank card in your bag, right? I said, yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
bank card, my license is here, but that fob key is not. So I walked like a block or two to another hotel, stayed on the phone with my mom, and that was it.
Okay.
And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, and then I walked right back around the corner, and they let me in. And so I always tell ladies, ask if the front desk closes at a certain time. And if it does, who can you reach out to? Let's say that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's in the middle of the night and you're like, shit, like the power went out, or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's in the middle, because you're like, I was in Bangkok, the power was going out like every 10 minutes in Thailand. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like in Antigua, Barbuda, you know, I've been living in Antigua, Barbuda. The sometimes they have power outages, and you know, you need a generator in your backyard. So I always ask, like, hey, if y'all do the front desk close at a certain time? If so, what is the WhatsApp number so that way
Mm-hmm.
I can reach somebody, or, you know, whatever.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
that's tip number one. Ask them, you know, if the front desk closed, whatever. Tip number two.
I'm sorry to stop you. Did you end up booking another room at that other hotel that you walked to, or did you like just sit in the lobby?
No. I booked a room and stayed there overnight. So I learned
Oof.
with the hard way.
Mm.
So that's why I created Travel Like a Boss, so people don't have to learn the hard way.
Okay. I'd be big pissed. I'd be so fucking pissed. Damn, like nobody was coming in or out. I just would really not want to spend that fucking money again. Like I already have a hotel.
I know, but it was like I was on the phone with my mom, and like literally, it's
You
one
don't
to
want to just sit
morning. I'm
outside
gonna be
on the
camping out
street.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
especially
yeah.
if it's not
So
depending on what it looked like. That's
no, it was
ooh,
pretty safe, but I was still like, you know what? I still learned my lesson. Like that
yeah,
$170 that I spent, I was like, okay, we never going through this again. Lesson learned.
right.
You know? So second tip that I would definitely give women, um, put an air tag in your luggage. You know,
Okay.
like people always say, like, you know, they have like lost luggage and all that other stuff. Definitely feel free to put an air tag in your luggage. Um, Also, like tip number two, a lot of women talk to me about like safety.
Mm-hmm.
um, Most people don't know that they can actually be in contact with the U.S. Embassy in every country that they go to by enrolling in the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. So, you know, it's a free service to U.S. citizens. So if you guys, you know, are traveling abroad, you can always check in with the local U.S. Embassy in that country. So most people just don't know about that. I would also encourage women to make sure that I already told you guys to have the WhatsApp number, you know,
Yeah.
or like the local number. If you're staying with an Airbnb host or whatever, ask them for a number off of that Airbnb app. Because let's say you go to check in and the key doesn't work and it's 1 o'clock in the morning, they may not check this Airbnb app until tomorrow.
Right.
But if you have a WhatsApp number for them already, you can easily get in contact with them off the app if, you know, something should go wrong. So,
Yeah.
um, I definitely would encourage women to maybe, you know, use those three tips.
Okay. So, what do you find people come to you the most for, right? So, if someone is curious as to whether or not your course would be appropriate for them, if they're nervous about coming solo travel, or if they want to just do it safely, if they want to know where Black women generally feel safe, like who do you find your, I don't want to say like, I guess biggest, or not biggest, that's not really what I mean. I try to
Like
make
the
sure I
almost
use my
like,
words
yeah, no, I get what you're
like
saying.
the
Like
way
their
that I'm saying in my
avatar.
head. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, like what do you find people ask you the most, right? Like not necessarily, or no, I don't want to know that. I
Okay.
want to know, what do you think you end up being surprised people are coming to you for? Like, what are some of the reasons why people have sought out your advice or consultation or opinion suggestions? What do people come to you that surprises you for? Because obviously it's, you do safe travel, you do solo travel, but I wonder if you've ever had someone come and say, well, I actually was curious about, and it was just like, oh, okay, good point. Has that ever happened? Do you have any of those that you would think that, because I'm thinking the obvious people that know that they want to look into whether or not, like, oh, this is a cute page to look at, but for the person that doesn't yet know that you're for them, do you think you could say, no, I got you on this too?
Yeah, so a lot of the times when people come to me, on the surface, it seems like they just want to solo travel, so they're ready to purchase my coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
But if you dive deeper and get a chance to talk about, what their goals are and why it's important to them, so you can make a customized roadmap to help them get started with their solo travel journey and establish those goals, and then what are measurable milestones, and we reverse engineer it back. A lot of the times it's not that they just want to solo travel. That's like a part of it. But then when you dive deeper, they're like, you know what? I went through a divorce and he never wanted to go nowhere. And I decided that I want to do something for me. So this is really a self-expression for me to prove that I'm dependent on myself.
Mm,
I'm independent of someone else, and I can rely on myself. So it's more of a personal accomplishment. So it's like the surface answer is, oh, people, they come to me because they want to solo travel, but that's really surface. When you get a chance to hear their story, someone's like, you know what, my mom died last year, and I decided that if life is too short, so I would like to take my first solo trip out of Texas, but I'm the only child, so I just want some help with doing that. But I know my mom wouldn't want me to just sit here, and after she passed, I don't want to. And so everybody has their own personal thing that's driving them towards the this desired outcome. The desired outcome is not even what they really want.
mm-hmm.
Like, I want to solo travel. No, I want to make my mom proud. I want to make myself proud. So those are the things that always get me. That's why whenever I'm working with women, I'm like, tell me why you're doing this, because I'm not a cookie cutter person. Every man or woman that
Mm-hmm.
I work with, I'm working with them to help them achieve their specific travel goals. So let's talk about why this is all important to you right now. The real reason. And they're happy to share.
That's one of the things I think I may have been the most surprised to learn about travel, is that it's not really about the destination, right? Like, it's not about necessarily the trip. And that's one of the things that I love most about this podcast, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know before you know it. And
Mhm.
I think that if more people understood how much you can actually receive from traveling, and you don't even have to go far. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be an international trip. Like, you don't have to go to Zanzibar. You don't have to be someplace exotic. Like, I
Right,
live in
right,
New York. I could be fucking Connecticut was probably the best day of my life. Like,
right.
we had the most incredible day. We were there from Saturday to Sunday afternoon, like
Uh-huh.
a little bit more than 24 hours. And it wasn't just like going to Connecticut. It wasn't like a international trip. It was time spent with somebody that I really care about, time spent
Right.
doing new and exciting things with somebody that I love. And it's it was experience because we stepped outside of our comfort zone. It was
Mhm.
experience because we were open to what the experience of being someplace new could give us. And
Right.
I am really surprised that you do like individual coaching. It sounds like you don't do like just to explain, like, how does your program work? Because if I'm thinking what I'm thinking, like, this is like this, please just go ahead because it sounds really engaging.
It actually is really engaging, which is why I have a cap on how many people I can actually take.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so Travel Like a Boss has a 9-week one-on-one coaching program.
Okay.
And throughout those 9 weeks, we coach every week one on one for 30 minutes to 1 hour.
Hmm.
So every week, as you go throughout the course, at the end of the week, we'll talk about, like, what you learned. And I have homework assignments, and then we have checklists, planning checklists. Like we have a whole way to work it out and start bringing you through the process of actually taking your first solo trip. So
Huh.
because of that, I can only take 10 women every 9 weeks because I need, for this cohort to graduate.
Absolutely.
And so what also happens is if I have a backlog, I have other courses. I have a 5 week course and a 1 week course. And those courses have no coaching from me. So you can at least get the basics and the
Yeah.
foundation. If I'm too busy to take any more clients, you can still learn from me in an automated way. But
Mhm.
if I
Mhm.
have the slots available and a person seems like a good fit, they seem like they're going to be committed and showing up every week, throughout those 9 weeks, then I'll go ahead and coach them one on one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I actually had a coach, and I can definitely attest to that one-on-one. It wasn't a travel coach. She was a business coach, and she was a gem. I can't speak highly enough about her.
Uh-huh.
And that one-on-one interaction is kind of like with a therapist. Sometimes like just saying things out loud, it's like they're
Yeah.
not, you'd be surprised how in your mind you think that they're going to give you all the answers, but you end up having a lot of the answers yourself. And it's just like, oh, I just needed somebody that knew what they were doing, help me
Yeah.
figure out exactly where I needed to go with what, like what my goals
Mhm.
were.
Yeah.
So you've got the one-on-one coaching, you've got a 5 week, and you've got a 1 week automated coaching. Are they all related to taking like your first solo trip, or do you offer different type of experiences?
That's a great question. So, I have the 9 week course. That was my signature course. That was the first course that I came out with. And so, when we started getting too many clients, I took the 9 week course, I broke it up, and I said, okay, without my coaching, if they follow these 5 modules, they can still achieve the desired outcome of acing their first solo trip just with the first 5 weeks. The other weeks, 6 through 9, require more of a one on one for me to walk you through everything. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm booked with these people on the 9 weeks in the 5 week program, I won't even add these extra weeks because I know that I can't walk them through it. I'm booked.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the 5 week course is exactly the 9 week course. It's just a shorter, abridged version that's
And
available
without
to
your
customers,
secret sauce.
right?
Well, I
Right,
mean, they
when
both
I'm
got your
booked.
secret sauce, but like it's not your hand holding. You're
I'm
not.
not talking to them throughout the process.
Okay. So what kind of things make you stand out? Like, how is it? Because there are so many take a trip options available, right? Now, outside of it being you, that is the magic, because I feel like every individual person that offers a service has their person, like, who you are is who you are. Just the same. There's a million different podcasts about travel, but ain't none of them traveling shit because ain't none of them me. Like, it is what it is. You fuck with me or you don't. And that's everybody's bag, right? So what is it that you do differently? And you sounded like you mentioned like we reverse engineer, we see what they want to go. Is it that you're doing more of like intensive dive into why people want to travel that is helping them actually find that way to step out of fear? Or is it more so that you are like curating trips with them and you're booking trips with them?
So, honestly, D, like when you say like why me, I honestly think that a lot of people choose to support Travel Like a Boss because two things I'll say. Not because of me, like who am I? Like I'm the same as everyone, every other girl. So there's nothing different about me or special about me more than the next girl. But I think why people choose Travel Like a Boss, two reasons. Number one, intimacy. Like a
Mhm.
lot of influencers that, got Forbes and USA Today and Essence Magazine, they don't have um like where you can just travel with them. You get what I'm saying? Like most people don't allow that type of access to them. So I think people choose Travel Like a Boss because the brand was built by somebody that they see that they can relate to. So since I'm relatable, that makes Travel Like a Boss better because I'm not this unreachable star or something like that. They see my face, I'm on videos, we do webinars, and then they see the article. So that kind of adds to my credibility. But I'm someone that they can relate to, and I provide that level of intimacy. Like a girl with 100,000 followers is not like, hey, I'm hosting this group trip, like you guys can travel with me. So people, that kind of brings down people's level of skepticism with you when access to you is not even that hard. So they're like, okay, well, this may not be like a scam, because people with the internet nowadays, people are just naturally suspicious of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think intimacy is a big part about why people choose to patronize Travel Like a Boss. And I think number two, um, I think that people get a lot of hope because, if you've purchased a $2,000 product from me, then I'm pretty sure that you probably have read any of the articles about me. And you probably know that, yeah, I was like literally left on vacation by myself on my birthday in a foreign country where I knew no one. So I think people say, they look at me and say, like, you know what, if she could have that happen to her and go from that to solo travel in the world, then I can start. Like hers, she was thrown out into the pool and had to learn how to swim.
Right.
Me, I can actually follow actionable steps and work with somebody who's been doing this for a long time and plan it out and be more prepared. I'm not going to Paris with a friend and coming back with no one. So I
Yeah.
think women like my story because it makes them feel like, well, if she can do it and live through it, then I can do it with the right knowledge, with the right support system, with the right
Right.
community. So it's more attainable to them.
Right. So with that knowledge, what are some things that you swore by initially, but then learned, I actually don't really need this? Like if you have any packing advice that you like, people, when you first start things, I feel like this is done, this is done, this is done, this checklist, I've got this, everything is all organized. What are some things that you have shifted away from that you initially started with, or things that you swore by that you realize like, okay, they're kind of just, it's all camp, like it's not really, it's not necessary, it's fun, but
Um, so first thing was I always wanted to do hotel. And then I started doing Airbnbs and I was like, wow, I feel like this is like my own little apartment. So I started really liking the idea of an Airbnb. So that was one thing I shifted away from, where I
I
didn't feel
love hearing that.
I have to be on a resort. I had to be on a resort at the hotel. I can't do anything else, So I started opening my travel palette. Um, but then I went back to hotel chains because I'm like, you know what? I get these Hilton points and then I can transfer it. And so
Okay.
then I want to get the points because if I stay at Airbnb, I'm not getting anything for it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but with this, I could use the points, So I switched back. But that was one thing that I moved away from that I wanted to try
Okay.
different. The next thing was when I started my solo travel journey, I was such a geek. I wrote everything down in a yellow notebook.
I
Um,
do journals too.
and I wrote down, if something happened to me on my first solo trip, these are the 2 local hospitals in the area nearest to the hotel on Google Maps. And so when I first started traveling, I would always look for like, what's the address to the U.S. Embassy? How can I get an Airbnb or the hotel exactly closest to the U.S. Embassy? Plus, because it's less smoke around the U.S. Embassy, because this is whatever. So I was, and then I would always have to know what a hospital was. And after like trip 10, I was like, you know what? Every time I stay close to a U.S. Embassy, I might be way far away from all the tourist attractions that I actually came to this country to see. And I was like, you know what? I'm feeling more confident about myself to use my common sense and my better judgment when I'm out partying or something. So that way I don't gotta feel like, oh, I can only party close to the U.S. Embassy because there's more
Mm-hmm.
cameras when I'm going home. Whatever. So there's a few things that I was doing that I was like, okay, this is OD.
Okay, so I can't really say OD because as long as it's something that allows you to enjoy yourself more,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
safety is one of those things. Like when you
Right.
feel safe, you move a little different. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
more inclined to want to experience a little more. You may take more
Yes.
calculated risks.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah, you might not have needed to necessarily, stay a block from the hospital or whatever. But it's a fair. That was fair. I'll give you that. That was
Well,
fair,
first,
and it was smart.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've never I don't think I have ever, and not saying it as in oh yeah, I don't do it, you don't gotta do it. But I'm just saying in my experience, I don't think I've ever like registered with an embassy or I think DC is the only place where I actually even noticed any of the embassies. And that's because some of them are just gorgeous. Some of them are really nice, what do you call
Sorry.
them? Townhouses
Yeah.
that are, along different Uber routes or whatever. So, do you have any other tips that you feel like free game? Like this is easily going to save you in any type of destination that you're in. Some work better with hot weather destinations, some work better with cold weather. Like, is there anything that you think you would suggest to people in terms of overall free game? Not necessarily in terms of booking, not necessarily in terms of like packing or choosing accommodations, just like overall for the person in terms of being like headspace, like different calming or soothing or reaffirming or assuring tips that you can give people to kind of say like there's no reason for you to be scared to take a solo trip. Did that question make sense?
Yeah, I think you're asking me like, is there anything that any advice that you can give somebody um that will just make them feel better about taking that first step?
Boom. Yes, thank you for hearing
Okay,
me.
okay,
Please.
okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Girl, my
actually,
titties are sweating down here. If
oh my
y'all watching
goodness.
the YouTubes, whew, girl, it is hot. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, girl, you're good. Do you want to move the fan closer?
Mm-mm,
Oh, okay, okay,
don't worry
okay,
about it.
okay.
Thank you.
Nah, no worries, girl. Um, yeah, so I think that my tip for all the ladies and gents that are watching is a wonderful podcast with Dee, Carrie. Um, the one thing that makes me feel great is that I didn't know who would be waiting for me on the other side of my fear and what that woman would look like. And I decided to do one thing different because they say you get what you give. And I was at such a low place when I started my solo travel journey. I had already lost my man, I had already lost my friends.
Mhm.
So I didn't have anything else to lose, actually. So, like, when you're feeling low, like, there's no other direction to go except up anyway. So, like, what can go else can go wrong, basically.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? I don't know what's next, but I'm already uncomfortable. So at this point, I'm open to all things new. I'm being uncomfortable ain't even a problem for me at this point. I've had everything taken from me. And when I decided to take my first solo trip, I did one thing different. And I took my nephew on his first solo trip. And like I took him on a trip with me. And at this point now he's 15 and he's been to 7 different countries. And he says to me, "Oh, my 16th birthday, I wanted to be in London because I love the Tate Modern." And I said to
Mhm.
him, when I was 16, I didn't even think of stuff like that because that was not even available to me. I was not even dreaming about being
Nope.
16, and I like that. It was not even an option. It wasn't even a thought in my brain. I didn't even know anything about London or that I could go. And I told him, I said, because of what I showed you, now when you and you're almost 40s like me, you'll treat your kids a lot different and your kids will see a lot. And so now we've been able to change the trajectory or the standard of living for all of our descendants based off of one thing that I decided to do. And now he talk about he need to be at the Tate Modern next summer. So it's like, okay, I've been able to change my family generation and what we think is normal. Now he thinks it's normal to have a 16th birthday party in London. So I was able to change his life, his kids' life, everything off of me doing something different. So, my one piece of advice out there to anybody that will make them feel better about solo travel is do one thing different. You have no idea where it's going to take you. Travel Like a Boss is a $1 million company at this point. Um, Thank
Round
you,
of
babe.
applause for all your hard work.
Thank you, Dee. And um, I wasn't expecting $1 million company. I wasn't expecting Forbes features or Essence Magazine features or, being on podcasts such as this. I got stranded on vacation on my birthday in another country and I had to start traveling solo. If I would have never made that one decision to try it out, just an experiment in
Mm-hmm.
Paris, it would have never led to me helping 10,000 people. And this is all off of a mistake. Nothing is planned. So imagine if you actually put intention behind, I want to change my life and do one thing different and just see where it takes me. Even if it doesn't take me to being a master solo travel, I learned different things about myself. And now I always travel with my husband, maybe, but I'm still going to travel now. Just try one thing different. You never know what your destiny is going to look like after you do it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Not just, and I love that advice, but then I also love that this baby now has like a
Seven.
global,
Mm-hmm.
a global prism with which to
Mm-hmm.
view his
Mm-hmm.
options. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not confined to now he is not just confined to what he knows. He knows that there is so much more out there and so much more to be interested in, and that now these are actual options, viable options that he can see himself being part of. And I love that about the babies. Like, what is this? What are they? They're Gen Z,
Gen
right?
Z.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My Gen Z baby.
Them babies is doing a lot of things right. Some of the stuff they do, I just don't get.
Right,
I
right.
don't. However, other things, when I especially see them really like being ahead of where we were at that
Mm-hmm.
age, you know what I mean? It's just I love that travel is part of that, because travel does so much more for yourself and your
Mhm.
personhood than you ever can imagine that it can for you. So similar to that last question, what's one thing that you would suggest people do? What's one thing that you would suggest that people, or more than one if you have it, that maybe they would think that they should do, that they actually don't do that? Like opposite. Like what's something that it's not worth their time, or it's actually a bad idea?
Hmm. So one of the things that I always tell people, don't do that. Um, do not go to an ATM machine in a foreign country.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Like,
Because I love AGMs.
yeah, so you don't want to go to an ATM machine and then like somebody is watching you and they're like, okay, well, we know that she has the money. Like we saw her at an ATM machine. I don't want you guys out here vulnerable about to get got because you stand at an ATM machine, you put the money in your pocket or whatever. Somebody watching you, they already know you got bread.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, I always tell people like, even though you're bringing your debit card with you, like that direct deposit money, girl, do not use that card while you're abroad. Not because of the foreign transaction fees, but because if you're in Paris and somebody copied that card and it's identity theft and they done charge $3,000 worth of stuff, that's your real cash hands money. Versus if you bring your debit card but just use your Amex or your Chase Sapphire, if somebody copied a card and it's identity theft, girl, they got Chase money. They don't got my money, So
I like that.
even though people, always say like, oh yeah, I bring my card or whatever. I'm like, no, you can bring your debit card, but your debit card should never be your primary method of payment. Another thing that I would probably tell people not to do, like I said, the ATM thing. I always tell people like, bring cash if you can, and you can request the cash, like the foreign currency from your bank ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of me having all these ATM fees of €5 plus the foreign transaction fee for it, I went to Chase Bank and I asked them for €3,000 2 weeks ahead of time, and they said it's a $25 flat fee because you already have an account here. I paid a
Yeah.
$25 flat fee, and I had the euros with me, so I didn't have to worry about an exchange or any foreign transaction fees, or it's being, at an ATM, whatever, because I pretty much came
Mm-hmm.
with the money from my bank.
Okay. So a few final rapid questions.
Sure.
Carry on or check bag?
Carry on, because I don't want my trip to be like I'll be waiting at this baggage claim for like an hour. My vacation starts
Mm-hmm.
when we deplane. I'm done with this. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sitting here waiting on this luggage thing. But some countries, like for instance, like let's say you go to Europe and you're in Italy. You're like, you know what? We're in Italy. We might as well go to Greece, and then we might as well go to Turkey, and then fuck it, we in Dubai now. Like it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why would I pay money to come back to London when I'm already in Paris? I might as well go for the weekend. If we want Belgian waffles, we in Paris. That's a 2-hour flight. Guess we going to Belgium for these waffles while we over here. So sometimes, even though I'm team carry on, sometimes just based on like how I'm moving, because I'm the
Mm-hmm.
type of person, D, that I'm like gone to November. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm going to November. So when I leave the house, I'm like, I got a one-way ticket to Paris. From there, I might end up in Amsterdam, might end up in Ibiza, and from there, I don't know. I'm in Morocco. Like I took the Gibraltar, and I'm in Morocco from there. So it's like I never know when I'll be back in the United States or whatever. So sometimes I do have to have a check bag because I just don't know how long I'm gonna be gone, and I need what I need while I'm
Fair.
away.
Fair. Okay. Beach or the city?
Beach,
Okay. What seat do you take? Aisle or you take the window?
window seat.
And you already answered. I was going to do Airbnb or hotel. And I think you answered that you're more of a.
Hotel person now.
Okay. Personally, I'm an Airbnb girl
Mm-hmm.
only because in my mind, I want a community experience. I
Mm-hmm.
want to feel as if I am part of the area that I'm actually trying to visit. Like I want to pop out and
Right.
be like, oh shit, let me see what that corner store got. Or damn, I don't these forks in here look a little janky. Let me go get a box of plastic forks. Or I'm
Mm-hmm.
not using this coffee machine because it looks like shit. I'm gonna go here. So I really enjoyed that feeling of being part of a community when I stay at an Airbnb. And also in my mind, I feel as if I look less conspicuous. Like if I'm walking out of a hotel, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, regardless of whether or not I keep my mouth shut and don't really say anything and try to blend in with locals, I feel as if you're going to make that assumption that walking out of a hotel, I'm a tourist, right? So I would rather walk out of somebody's house and let you think maybe I'm somebody's cousin, maybe I'm somebody's friend, maybe I'm just, here on like an extended work study or something like that. But as long
Right.
that's another thing that I do. I'm very good for keeping my mouth shut and just seeing what's happening. Like, let me see how far I could go before somebody knows I'm not from here. And generally, I mean, that's a little bit probably pride on my end because I'm pretty sure people realize I'm not from wherever the fuck I am. But in some places, it really be paying
It's
off.
hard.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it works, and they just, especially in I think Spanish speaking countries, people will just walk up and Black Spanish speaking countries, people will just walk up and start speaking to me, and I'll be like, buenas,
Uh-huh.
pero no
Uh-huh.
hablas español poquito.
Right, right,
And
right.
that's the most that I got. But I am absolutely an Airbnb girl, and I also just like I want more space. Like I
Right,
want
right,
the
right.
space. I want a little mini fridge. Give me a stove. Maybe I
Right,
want to fry an egg today, but that's my thing. I really
right,
like
right, right.
Airbnbs because they just feel more
Authentic.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like a Marriott is a Marriott is a Marriott, but I also don't get no points. So
Oh yeah, I get it. I
I mean,
get
I'm not winning on that end, but to your point, Airbnb, like, what's good with that?
it. Yeah, like I was using
We be
Airbnb.
out here.
Yeah, like I was like, you know what? I don't get any kickback from
Yeah,
if I book 10 rooms or what, like I'm not getting anything back. And then when they charge me a cleaning fee, I'm like, you know what? I might as well just go to a hotel. You charging me a cleaning fee, and then they be having like the rules
yeah,
and I'm
I
like,
barely
for
follow
all of
those.
this, yeah, like I'm like for all of this, like leave the
Yeah,
clothes here, dude. I was like, you know what? I just need to go to a hotel, and I'm
I
getting
feel
points.
you.
So I just ended up their prices went up so much Airbnb that I was like, you know, I just need to get a hotel anyway.
I agree. I agree. I agree. The prices are not where they used to be, but something about hotels, I don't know. Like I know that when I compare, like when I'm looking at the different prices, I feel like if I am not like in the middle of the city center, I don't want to stay at your hotel. You'd have to have like a wild, well, where do you look to book your hotel? Well, no, you're a chain girl, right? Like you go to the different hotel chains that
I'll
you
try to
like and you
find
do
a
your
yep, unless I got a partnership. I'm not saying nowhere where I can't get the points, because if I'm gonna pay, if I give Airbnb $10 or if I give
It's got to
Hilton,
work for you.
I just want the money to recycle itself for me. So
Yeah.
if they're not gonna give me anything, but Hilton's gonna give me 1,000 points per dollar, or 10 points per dollar, I'm like, well, you know what? This will give me 1,000 points. I could put that on the next hotel, stay the next, whatever. So it just didn't benefit me to do anything with Airbnb anymore.
I mean, when you put it that way, that makes sense.
Because
That makes
ultimately I'm
sense.
getting more free stays. And like, let's say that I have 30 free night, 30, let's say I stayed like 30 nights this year. And then my sign up bonus was like 150,000 points. And then I got like 3 free nights. Well, if I'm hosting a Travel Like a Boss group trip for 10 girls at a hotel, the first 3 nights for some of the girls are even free, because and then now we making more points because I just booked 7 more hotel
Yeah.
rooms them for this group trip, and now I'm getting the points back. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put them wasn't it? So it's like it really I really can circulate my resources better. Like I make that money for the hotel room actually come back to me.
All right. That makes sense. I think I might have to look into that. Do you have affiliate links for any of those?
I got affiliate links for like credit cards.
Okay.
Yeah, because I
So,
get points and stuff. Like so.
oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I got some. I recommended my dad for that
Mhm.
Amex. I got them points. My brother recommended me. He got
Yeah,
his. And then I
yeah.
recommended my dad. And I
Y'all
got
know
mine.
what it is. Y'all
Yep.
know what it is.
I ended up doing, was that Costa Rica? I think my Amex points paid for my Costa Rica trip. I ended up going to and from I think it was my flight. I don't think it was the hotel, but it definitely took care of that flight. Oh, since I'm on points, before I forget to tell y'all, so if you get an email, say you take a JetBlue flight and they send you an email about a survey, they'll give you 400 points just for signing up and completing a survey. I made 500 points like in an hour the other day taking random ass surveys. Like they're random surveys about whatever. I mean, very random. It's not like surveys. How was your flight? How was the food? Were you comfortable? It's stuff like, have you heard of these companies? They'll ask you like about 9 different companies, and then randomly after one of those, okay, you've been selected to answer a survey about Deloitte, and then it's like, I don't know shit about Deloitte, and they tell you even if you don't know, answer to the best of your ability or to the to what your perception of these people is. Free fucking points. I don't have to spend no money. All it is spending time. So you do have to spend the time. But what I appreciate about their little surveys is that it'll tell you an estimate of how long the survey should take you and how many points you're going to get. So 500 points in like an hour, and I did it while I was watching like HGTV. It's not even anything that is taxing or stressful. You're clicking yes, no, 1 through 7 and shit like that. So
Right.
if you are trying to get them points up, that's another resource, and it goes into your bank relatively quickly. So if y'all got it as an option, I personally would wait until you got the sign up bonus. But if you don't want to wait, because it was 400 points just for taking one. So other than that, like I'd say the most that I've seen a survey offer is like 90 points. So you could get relatively decent points, but that's going to be like a 39-minute survey or a 27-minute survey. So just want to throw that out there for y'all. If you you got free time, you don't even need a lot of free time. They do have like 10-minute surveys. If you commit to just doing a couple of minutes, out of your week, then take you some surveys, and before you know it, you're going to just rack up some points, because there's nothing more frustrating than being this close to getting like that one-way ticket at least to part of your trip. Or that's another thing. I like booking, at least when I was doing solo. Now that it's 2 of us, it's a little more logistics. I don't like it, but I like traveling with him. Let me not put that out there. Love traveling with him. But the logistics of doing 2 people. I don't forget that you can absolutely, you can book one ways. You can
Oh, I do it
absolutely
all the
get to,
time, girl.
yeah.
But the only thing is, the country just wants to see that you're leaving. So I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people, like, sometimes they be like, hold on, you got a one-way ticket into London. We're not letting you in the UK. You're going to try to stay. And
Mm-hmm.
so they might deny you entry into a country. They want to see that you're going to leave. So if you guys are flying to a country, just because I fly to Paris, like I said, don't mean I'm flying back from Paris. I might get to Paris and be like, yo, I'm going to be in Prague and in Budapest. And then from there, I'm just going to be in Italy.
Right.
So just guys, if it comes down to it and you about to leave and you only on a one way, look up the country that's nearest, the closest, and book your flight out. So if London is close to Paris and you just on a one way, at least book London, so that way when you come through the Paris airport, they're not thinking that you're going to try to stay. You have a
Yeah.
flight out to
Yeah.
London, and it's probably only like $12 or like, you know, $20. You know, to get around Europe is cheap, but at
Yep.
least buy a cheaper flight. I was going to Bali and my visa was 90 days. So I said, well, you know, oh no, I'm sorry, my visa was 60 days. I was on a 60-day visa on arrival, and I booked a flight for $30 to Singapore on my 59th day, from 59th days from when I was going. I didn't know that I was going to Singapore. I said, look, I'm just spending this stupid $30 so that way they don't hassle me at the border. And
Right,
when I
right,
was
right.
done with Bali, I didn't go to Singapore. I wasted, it was $30.
Right.
From there, I went to Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
But I at least had something to get me out of the country, like to get
Correct.
me in and get me out. So
Correct. So the point is, make sure you have a flight that leaves from that country, so they don't tell that ass, no, you can't come.
right. But
But
I
what you
do
could,
love one ways.
and what you could also do is, in terms of your one way, if you are, say, in a coastal city, or if you are in a city that doesn't necessarily have a really popular international hub or a hub that you like, you can use those points to get you to possibly an airport that might be cheaper. I know that when I went to Alberta, I live in New York, so flying from, and it was a trip with my homegirl, so it was like she was there on like Tuesday to Sunday. I don't know why the fuck that was the girl, but I ended up doing Seattle for the weekend prior. Plus, it's cheaper to get to Alberta from Seattle. So I ended up having enough points that I flew to Seattle for free, had a good black ass time in Seattle for the weekend, and then I had the much cheaper flight from Seattle to Alberta because they're fucking closer. So it doesn't necessarily have to be completely out of the country. It can just get you to some place where getting to whatever country you want to get to might be a little bit cheaper. So where can the people find you, team? You've given us all this information and you've got all of these different options in terms of working with you, whether it be one-on-one or just the 5-week or the 1-week course. But where can they find you? Where can they see what you have that you have available as offers, and find out if they are a great match to be part of your crew?
So you guys can follow me on Instagram at the Passport Abuser. You guys can also get on the website. The website is Travel Like a Boss, and boss is spelled BAWSE. So travellikeaboss.com. And there you can go under the coaching tab and select to schedule a consultation with me one-on-one, and from there either myself or my staff will have you complete an intake form. Before we get on the phone with you, we will look at the intake form, see the way you're answering the questions, and see like, okay, are you a good fit? From there we'll get on the phone and then we'll see, because I am traveling with people. And, for that, we just have to make sure that we're screening people really well, because this is a community that we have to keep safe. And all these women are traveling together. I'm traveling with you guys as well. So I just want to make sure that we are screening people, so we don't take anybody's money unless we have spoken to you.
Okay. That, of course, obviously will be in the description below so that you guys can get there easily. And I want to finish this out by reminding everybody that travel is so much more than vacation. We have just spent all of this time explaining to y'all how we have grown from these experiences, both solo, with friends, and the opportunity, that same opportunity lies for you. Like there's nothing special about us that we're able to benefit from travel differently than you may be able to benefit from travel. It's just that we've already done it. If you haven't already, you got 2 very, very open examples here. And we are both here for, hit us up on the social medias. We have different options available for you to learn more from us. There are so many different, the opportunities are there, and those opportunities don't just wait for us. Like, they're there for you also. It is there for you to not just experience, but to also grow from. So check him out, travellikeaboss.com, the passport abuser on the Instagrams. Do you have a Twitter?
I don't have a Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, I just rediscovered Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter since I was in my early 20s, and I jumped back on, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I actually like this again. So there are so many different places of information, and y'all will come across, I know I will come across the most encouraging and the most cringy. And it's just, I like Twitter. So check Twitter out, y'all. You can find me on there too.
Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is a good fucking time. And I like Twitter because you can just be, what do you call it? A voyeur. Like, you don't necessarily have to participate. Engage. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not that you get less or more. Well, I mean, I'm sure you get more when you engage, but it's a good time. I think it's fun. Right. It's entertaining for me. But is there anything else you would like to tell the people? Any closing remarks?
Yeah, I think, the audience, I love that you've engendered such a wonderful audience. So you guys are already bosses. You just have to travel like one. That's it.
Thank you so much for your time, Keem. I greatly appreciate you being here with me today and for sharing your story and your message with the audience. We are Traveling Shit. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, y'all. We will see. Oh, don't forget. August 21st, first live Traveling Shit episode. Yay! I'm so excited for that. Pull up. The link to RSVP to the event is travelingshitpodcast.com/events. I am having a conversation with 3 of my favorite people. I've got Nay Marie from Taji Magazine. I've got Wanda from Black Women Travel Podcast. And I've got Shira of Black Girl World Traveler. And we'll be having a discussion that is based on the James Baldwin essay, The Discovery of What It Means to Be an American. I did an episode, I want to say episode 121, where I discussed how literature actually has either encouraged me to travel to certain destinations and how it's also really shaped the way I experienced myself in certain destinations. And it wasn't a conversation that I wanted to have in a box. Like, I wanted to have other women with this conversation. And one of the things that is very prevalent, and I think really in our social consciousness right now as Black women and Black people in general, is the idea of leaving the United States to try to disassociate and leave behind those really racy kind of nuanced racial experiences, right? But have you considered the baggage that you will also bring with you to this country that you are going to kind of escape and leave? You're still the same person for the most part until you actually embrace whatever that change is going to be for you. And what does that experience look like? Where on your hierarchy of self does Blackness fall? And I'm really looking forward to having that conversation. And these women are all entrepreneurs. They are digital nomads. And Shira just started her journey as a digital nomad. Wanda's been going strong from 2016. And Nay has been an entrepreneur for basically as long as I've known Nay. I feel like Nay has generally worked for herself in some capacity. And I wanted to have that conversation with women at different stages and in different areas of, well, we all in the same area of Blackness. We all been Black for our whole lives, but different stages of working for ourselves and being in different areas of the world, so that we can kind of say, well, how did that happen for you? What did it look like for you? How are you able to navigate those feelings in other countries surrounded by different people? So that it's a free event. It's going to be Sunday, August 21st at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on every girl's basic link at Zoom, like, it'll be there just because it's easy. And I feel like so many people from a lot of different places have access.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the announcement. That again, travelandshippodcast.com/events for more information. And you have to RSVP for that link because, we want the girls that want to be there. We don't want any of those random pop-ins like, fuck y'all are all ugly. I've been hearing like that was a thing that people were doing on Zoom. We don't want that. So RSVP so you can get the link. That's it, y'all.
I RSVP'd.
Oh, yay. Thank you. So I will see you there too. All right, y'all. So that's our time, and we will see you guys next week. Bye y'all.